with the Colonel. This is Chris Wyatt live in central Pennsylvania on the 23rd of October, 2024. No preamble music to open up the program because I'm not in my studio, but welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you here with me once again. A little bit of news around the world, and then we'll just kind of chat about topics of interest to you. So let's just start with that. First off, Taiwan has refused to move its embassy in Pretoria after the African National Congress demanded that the proper heir to what is mainland China remove its embassy as it kowtows to its paymasters in Beijing. The ANC once again compliant with what the Beijing Communist Party is telling them to do. They don't want Taiwan's embassy to be treated as an embassy. So, Taiwan has refused, and rightly so. This is not the end of the story. It will continue this imbroglio. So, in education news, the Democratic Alliance's member of parliament who's serving as the education minister in South Africa, folks, that would be none other than Siviwe Garube. She has said that there's no immediate plans to change South Africa's idiotic 30% passing rate for matriculants. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with this outside South Africa, they rely on largely what is the British system, where your matriculant, gosh, that sun has come around there. It wasn't there 10 minutes ago. All right. So the matriculants, you go and you take your matric, you take these exams, all the subjects that you're passed through. Those who score high enough can apply for university. In this case, 30%, 30%, 30% in 3 of the subjects, maybe math, sciences, who knows what else. And then in your first language, you only have to get 40% score. Now, why that matters is that many people in South Africa don't get educated in their first language, therefore they're not proficient in it. Oh, God bless. Man, the sun is just right there. All right. I have to move around quite a bit here. How's that? Is that better? That's a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better. All right. So you get 40% in your mother tongue. Now, because a lot of South Africans say they speak Sesotho, and they are unable to go to school where teachers teach in Sesotho. So what happens is that they learn in English or another language, most likely English. So what happens here, folks, is that they're not proficient in their first language, their mother tongue. In order to have a passing mark to enter university, you need to score only 40% in your mother tongue. Now, how asinine and ridiculous is that? This is the lowering the education standards. Instead of raising South Africans up, what the African National Congress has done for 30 years is push South Africans down. It's the same thing in America. The racist affirmative action programs that were in place here for decades violated the Equal Protection Clause of the U.S. Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and were an abomination and never should have occurred. If you want to right historical wrongs, of which the world is made world over, you don't do it by oppressing others and by giving special advantage to people simply based on one factor, whether it's their sexual orientation, it's their gender, it's their race, it's their skin pigmentation, it's their religious affiliation. You do not do that. It is morally and ethically wrong. But that is what the United States did for decades, and it harmed America. It harmed America in many ways. If you do not take the best people, then you suffer. So how do you fix these historical wrongs? Well, you make a concerted effort to focus on ensuring that those who were historically disadvantaged have a fair and equal opportunity to everyone else. Now, one way that can be done, I'll give you an example of that, not historically disadvantaged as a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male. That's certainly not the case, but certainly have been discriminated against, but not historically disadvantaged. In my case, living in poverty, when I applied to university in 1982, didn't have the funds to go to university. So a system was in place to help those who do not have the financial resources to go to university get an opportunity. It was a way of leveling the playing field. Since I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth and didn't have parents who had wealth that could pay for college, and I'm not alone, millions of people are in that boat, white, black, brown, whoever. As a consequence, I applied for financial assistance, and the financial assistance I was awarded was based on need, not based on skin color, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnic origin, but on need. As a consequence, I qualified for as much aid as was available, and I was able to enroll in and attend university. And that's how you do things. Same thing with schools. Instead of leaving the Eastern Cape schools under the control of people who put the money in their pockets instead of putting proper ablution units in so children don't fall and suffocate in feces and pit latrines, or actually purchasing textbooks or electrifying schools, or providing transportation for kids or meals, instead of stealing that. You actually put the money there in places where it hasn't been before, and you give those students an equal and fair chance to succeed in life. That's how you fix things. You don't fix things by giving people special advantages. You fix things by treating people equally. Now, you might say, wait a second, you said treat people equally, but you put more money there. Well, because money's not going to the individual, it's going to improve the system so that everyone has an equal and fair opportunity. This is about equality of opportunity, not equality of outcomes. Equality of outcomes is socialism and communism, and it simply does not work. It's an abomination, and it violates the human spirit. Humans are not wired that way. It's the same reason why we need judicial systems, we need incarceration, unfortunately, we need law enforcement, we need military. Why? Because there is a percentage of our species, of Homo sapiens, who cannot and will not abide by the norms of society. And there will always be people who try to take advantage of other people. And there will always be people who are malicious and bad actors. And so someone must be there to clean that up, to protect society. Hopefully it goes well, but it doesn't always go well. So there you have it, folks. Just a little bit about that. I'm not sure how I got into that. Oh, the 30%, 30%, 30%, 40%. So the DA is not going to change that. Well, there you go. There's the first complaint that people are going to have. The DA is no different than the ANC we're going to hear. And in many ways, you're correct. In many ways, both parties have no problem with state-owned enterprises. Both parties think that welfare is the path out of poverty. It's not. Both parties think that the historical injustices need to be corrected. They do. But their approach is wrong on both counts. So, Siviwe Garuba, very disappointed to hear from the Democratic Alliance today that they have no plans. Now, I didn't get a chance to read the article because it's behind a paywall and I'm not at my studio. But there may be an explanation. Maybe they'll have the resources now. Maybe it's just too soon. I'll have to dig into that, and I'll update you when I find out more. Meanwhile, John Steenhuisen has been quoted by the media saying that Russia is not an ally of our nation. And I confirm, Russia is not an ally of South Africa. A dictionary definition of the word ally is a state formally cooperating with another for a military or other purpose. Now, arguably, they could say that because they're in BRICS, they could consider Russia an ally. That's a fair statement. But the point here is that this is going to cause discord in the government of national unity, which is really just a government of disunity. At this stage, we're already seeing the fractures coming. The Democratic Alliance has taken a position anathema to the ANC that loves the Chi-Coms. They love communists. And so by taking this position, they put themselves on the outs with the ANC. This could go badly. Just saying, folks. Anyway, I don't think it's going to break the GNU, but it certainly will cause friction within it. So, I've always described cooperating with foreign nations in the following framework. And I don't think that I was the first person to ever come up with this, so I'm not going to try to claim credit for it. I might have been. I don't recall ever reading it or hearing anybody say it, but I used it one day, and I've used it ever since for the past 20 years or so. And particularly working in diplomatic fields and embassies, working with international organizations like NATO or the African Union, SADC, SACU, all these, the AGOA, all these different organizations, the G5 Sahel, working with all of them. I work with all of them. And the United Nations, I forgot them, but many others, plus NGOs. And so I came up with this term or phrase that I use, and it shows the elevation of whom we're working with. So when we cooperate in a military perspective or diplomatic, but especially military, a lot of people we don't have treaties with. A lot of people are not part of formal alliances with us. And so calling someone an ally that's not in a formal alliance, I think, is a bit dangerous. Great Britain, Denmark, Estonia, these are allies. These are treaty allies of the United States inside the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Therefore, we have mutual obligations under Article 5. An attack against one is an attack against all. So we're treaty allies. So that's an ally. We are partners with many countries around the world. We work together with countries, even if we don't like them. Sometimes we work with opponents over a natural disaster or something like that. But that would be a partner. And then we have friends. We have countries we're friendly to that we don't have a formal treaty alliance with. We do things with them, but it goes beyond that. South Africa we have cultural exchanges with. If it wasn't for U.S. funding of HIV antiretrovirals and also treatment programs and abstinence and condomization, all that ABC stuff. If it wasn't for that, the 7 million HIV positive people in South Africa would probably not be much higher, more like 15 or 20 million. And we would be back to a situation where people are dying like leaves falling off this tree every day. So, that's more of a friend. We do things with a friend. So my appellation has always been friends, partners, and allies, and that's how I describe folks that we work with. So I just thought I'd share that. So that's a few things I want to talk about today. And Steenhuisen is correct. Russia is not South Africa's ally. Russia is not your friend. And you really need to be more circumspect. Okay, I'm sorry. I just received very bad news that one of our VFW members who's in his 80s is in critical condition. I'm going to have to check into that after my broadcast today and maybe pay a hospital visit to the gentleman. I wouldn't want to see him pass. He's a wonderful gentleman who was very active in our veterans organization for a long time. All right, I'm going to take a look at the chat now. I'm going to have to put these on so I can see clearly, see who's here. So we've got Chris Den, Charles Van Olsen, the voice of reason, Teresa, Emil, bystander, Pablo Charlie, Richard Kuhn, Sue Walsh is back, John Jarvis, check your thumbnail. What's wrong with the thumbnail? I didn't put one on here. It should just be the background. I'm at the War College, okay? Yeah. I checked the title of the stream. Okay, the title of the stream is Chinwag with the Colonel. Did I misspell something? I didn't have my glasses on when I put on there. Okay. Jonathan DC says Taiwan is not a real country. Yes, it is. If it's not an embassy, what is it? Well, there's all sorts of diplomatic missions there, Charles. There are all sorts. You have within the Commonwealth. You don't have embassies, but you have, what's the name for it? High commissions. You have high commissions. Why the hell is the sun in the sky? Because it's racist. Saying that with a device containing Taiwanese chips. Yeah, exactly. Get off my lawn. Yes, please, get that sun out of my eyes. The West invented my device, not Taiwan. That's true. The West did invent your device, unless it's a Samsung S21. The technology was invented in the West, but it was manufactured in Asia. We don't manufacture them because we've shipped all our manufacturing base over to Asia. Much too much Andrew Tate. Okay, Ronaldo, yesterday it was the sun, guys mowing the lawn, and some poor bloke having a smoke outside. That's right, John. You are correct. I had no control over any of it. Well, the mowing is done. They had to mow this top side today, and the guys came by early in the morning and they finished that, so that's gone. Nobody's out here smoking, yeah, but the sun's always going to be a problem. I keep moving this table, and I'm going to move again here in a few minutes. Is it safe to say that BRICS is a panel for political discussion and small investment because of... I think, Pablo Charlie, it's a pretty accurate description of what the BRICS is. It's not a formal alliance. There is no treaty organizing it. It's just a collection of like-minded Northern Hemisphere Christian white haters, mostly, by and large. The exception being Russia, which is largely, not entirely a white nation, but it's a Slavic nation. So, yeah, BRICS is just a cafe clutch at the moment. There's virtually no real stuff. There's no substance to it. They can claim there's substance to it. All right, but there simply is not. All right. So, all right, back to the chat. And Tommy Robinson. What is this Tommy Robinson thing that Sedgefield keeps talking about the 26th? What's that all about? Can you tell me what that's all about? I'm puzzled by that. Okay, so yeah, Taiwan is a real country, and it's the island of Formosa became Taiwan, Republic of China, which is what its name is. So, yep, that's a real country. And in my view, Somaliland is a real country. Yep, and also, I don't think that Western Sahara is a real country. So there you go. These are political points, political questions, and there's no right, there's no wrong. Statements, they're factual. It's the reality we live in. Western Sahara is an issue that, ironically, Morocco had left the Organization of African Unity and never joined the African Union when it formed in the early part of this century. But they later joined, just the past few years, but without releasing Western Sahara. And one of the preconditions the African Union set on Morocco's entry back into the African Union, was that they would recognize the sovereignty and withdraw their troops and political presence from Western Sahara. Well, strangely, that never happened. So the Sawahiri, who've multiplied like rabbits with nothing to do, reproducing offspring, going from a group of maybe 60,000 to hundreds of thousands in the past 50 years, are a political thorn in the side of Algeria, living in the southwestern region of Algeria on the borders with Western Sahara. But Western Sahara is turned out to be quite a resource-rich area, and it is a huge territorial chunk of what Morocco considers its sovereign territory. Morocco is not letting it go. It's something we had to be cognizant of whenever we dealt with Morocco on exchanges or cooperation. Never produce a map that outlined Western Sahara. Ensure that your map had all that area incorporated in Morocco, or your meeting would go very badly. Now, I don't know why the world still continues to refuse Somaliland to recognize it as a functioning society with courts, law enforcement, government, an elected body. It is far more representative, safe, and better for people than Somalia itself. Now, Puntland's a different story. Puntland doesn't have quite the same history and reputation that Somaliland has, but it's something for discussion. Man, oh man, oh man. I moved this tree, this table further under the tree to stand in shade, and these leaves are just not getting it done. All right, let me see. There we go. How's that? But I'm still in the sun. If I sit back like this, it's a little bit better, but I don't know how the sound picks up. 68 people here, just 35 likes, no super chat money. That's okay. Not everybody's got money. It's a tough world out there, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their runaway rampant inflation, which has devastated and eviscerated the pocketbooks of the entire world. Things are still outrageously priced, folks. It's unbelievable, the things being built in. Then we have, of course, labor movements demanding money because their wages are falling behind because of the inflation. So we get the International Brotherhood of Longshoremen demanding a 77% pay rise. This is coming from people who are making $130,000 to $180,000 a year. The average being like $140,000 for those who work full time. It's absolutely insane. And they're the ones who run forklifts that bring and crane lifts to bring all the containers ashore and empty the containers and load them on the trucks. Do they think that their 77% pay rise is not going to increase the cost of our goods that are being delivered to us? Very selfish. I'm not getting a 77% pay raise. Are you getting one? They sound like South African trade unions. What is that, a bat? A strange bird. Sounds like he's got asthma. What is that? I can't see. Ooh, that's a bluebird. Yeah, it's a bluebird. I haven't seen one of those in a while. He's about that big. He's about 20 meters away up in the tree. Bluebird, but he's a noisy little peckerhead. Wow, we just dropped 53 people from 68. Well, what happened there? Oh, 65. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm misreading the screen. It looks like a 5. Yeah, so let me see if any more chat came in because it seems to stop there. No, there's no more chat. You guys went quiet. What happened? What happened to the chat rate? We did get more likes when I said something, but I'm not getting any more chat now. Is the chat still coming? Strange. Some of these broadcasts have been a little weird. The one, I think what happened is that because I didn't have reading glasses on, I think I must have hit the top of the screen and actually turned the chat off. Remember that was last week, I think it was? Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, the sun in and out, fading back and forth, kind of frustrating. But I think that the situation with the Democratic Alliance and the Government of National Unity is one that's, if it keeps going, the ANC really isn't saying much. So maybe what just happens is that the ANC lets the DA say whatever they want, and, you know, they tell their minions in the press not to make a big deal about it. You can report on it, but don't make a big deal about it because we need the DA, otherwise we can't govern. And we are going to use the DA to ensure we stay in power the next time around. I think that's what the ANC is doing. Just my thoughts. What are your thoughts on it? Would you agree with that assessment or no? And there's still no new chat coming. What is going on there? Huh. Oh, live chat. Okay, once again, so I'm not getting the full chat. Sorry, what have I missed here? Because yesterday a lot of questions people were asking. I didn't get to till later. What's your take on Teddy Roosevelt? See, I'm not getting these questions, so let me get over here. YouTube. All right. Oh, yeah, a lot of comments over here I'm missing. Erica didn't get any South African schooling in her mother tongue, French. Initially, I spoke Afrikaans, went to an Afrikaans school for a couple years, and had to learn English. Yeah, that's what happens. Okay, finally caught you live, says Light Rain. Okay. Too productive to keep up with my output. Thank you. Dylan is here. It's only Wednesday and I need a vacation. Anyone else feeling it? Well, look, I'm feeling exhausted too. I was drifting off to sleep yesterday trying to work, edit some things. I was very tired. Very tired. So yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from. Look like an MK. Oh, sorry, it's wrong. BRICS is a absolute joke and the real hype, or yearly hype meeting, not the original version of Goldman Sachs and economist Jim O'Neill, who created the moniker BRICS. Correct. That's correct. Who is that? Facility? I can't read that. It's very small. The print, the color's off. Yeah, no, BRICS is not real. It's just a fantasy, wet dream of America hating mostly Southern Hemisphere countries, with the exception of Russia and China. And without China, BRICS doesn't exist. 85% of the gross domestic product of BRICS was. Now we have to add Iran and Saudi Arabia and others into BRICS, so that will lower the amount, but not by much. China's economy is huge. Like the United States, the two dominate the world. God bless. Let's try this side. I'll lean forward for a little bit. This will work for a little bit. Yeah, so China's economy, like the U.S., dominates the world. And so it's just a bunch of nonsense. BRICS is nothing. It's not real. It's just air, hot air. Yep. And they want it to be something, and they keep trying, but they have signed 8 treaties. Teen Eisen has no right to speak on behalf of South Africa, says Jonathan. Really? So does Fikile Mabalula have a right to speak on behalf of South Africa? Julius Malema, Peter Groenewald? Do we have a right to speak on behalf of South Africa? I know I don't. I'm not South African. Something's been buying into South Africa. I don't know what that is. The way you speak, you won't live a day in a country like Russia or Iran. Oh, John. Okay. Uzbekistan, a BRICS member. These countries are as poor as Africa. Well, they're poor. Yeah, I know. Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. Vilma's here. Menage a trois. What's your take on Teddy Roosevelt? Teddy Roosevelt, a bit of a maverick. A scion of a wealthy Dutch family, just like his distant cousin there, Theodore or Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But Teddy was in some ways a conservative, but also very much a liberal and very much a progressive, if you want to say that, person. He is someone who was sickly as a child, had really serious health issues, and didn't like it. So he worked out hard to build up his physical capacity. Also wasn't very tall of stature, so he always had that kind of thing in the back of his head. But he was very successful in many things he did. Of course, it's because of his connections and his wealth. That certainly played a role in getting into that. He was serving in government and then went off to, with his merry band of mercenaries, the Rough Riders, to Cuba, and became famous because of the San Juan Hill, Battle of San Juan Hill. And he parlayed that into becoming president. He was a decent president, not a great one, but a decent one. But he did a lot of things. Our first national park in the world is Yellowstone, and he created that. He made that possible. He did a lot of interesting things when it came to conservation. God bless conservation and ecology. Teddy Roosevelt. Actually, I'm just going to turn around and have the sun at my back. Let's just do that. Okay. Not the prettiest background, but at least now the sun won't keep coming and changing directions, because the damn sun is moving, right? It's moving, and so are we. We're rotating in a big circle around that big flaming ball of hot gas. No, not Joe Biden, the sun. I'll be a little bit in the shade here, so it won't be as bright as it was on that side. I'm still smart, but not as bright. Anyway, so Teddy Roosevelt, interesting historical figure. Big game hunter. He wouldn't be popular today with the leftists, out shooting elephants and buffalo and things like that. Traveled all over the world. Fascinating guy. But then he kind of lost his mind when he wanted to run for re-election as a third-party candidate, as a progressive guy, the Bull Moose Party, and he's just, so his legacy is a little mixed, but respect for Teddy Roosevelt, decent president, to say the least. Okay, Chris, I think they're going to cheat in the election again. Watch the results being delayed in swing states with all the late ballots being blue. Hope I'm wrong on this. Yeah, Radine, I understand where you're coming from, Salve, and I don't disagree that there's a concern here, but I really don't know how to judge this. I mean, we're getting reports that some states actually know the result. Someone knows the results. So they're, like, for instance, we're hearing that in Florida, the early voting from analysts said that the Republicans have a 100,000 vote margin. In the last election, when Ron DeSantis was wildly popular in Florida, won as governor, he only won by 50,000 votes apparently. But Trump has a 100,000 vote lead in Florida with early voting. That's what I'm being told. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know what's fake news and what's real anymore. It's absolutely insane what's going on here. So I don't know what to say. Pennsylvania has early voting. I was unaware of that. I'm a judge of elections. I didn't know you could vote early. When did this come into play? Where does this at? I've never seen anything from the state telling me I can go vote early. But my neighbor, who had a heart attack last year, is concerned about his health, wants to make sure his vote gets counted, doesn't want to pass from this earth, went and told me he went and voted early. I mean, I was like, what is that? So that is strange. We do have the mail-in balloting, and those votes don't get counted until the polls close by the county, so we can't predict what that's going to be. But lots of people voted. I've heard as many as 15 million voters have already voted around the country in various places because of the laws. This is insane. This is absolute insanity. I mean, the race isn't even decided yet. You still got Kamala Harris opening her mouth and sticking your foot in it every single day. You still got Donald Trump out there, flipping burgers and, talking about Arnold Palmer's junk. So some people are undecided. I don't know why you could be undecided at this point. But this morning, listening to the radio, some of the idiotic things talking to college students, and they're like, yeah, we're voting for Harris. Why are you voting for Harris? Well, she's nice. She's nice. You obviously don't know anything about Kamala Harris. I mean, she has the highest staff turnover of any member of the Senate in living memory, and she has castigated her staff endlessly, abusing them, dressing them down, using profanity, threatening them, bullying them. I mean, she's known to be a tyrant and an evil person. Why anybody thinks she's nice is just comical. And then another one said, well, I'm from the North. What the hell does that mean, you're from the North? Does that mean you're from a northern state and you're implying that southern states are something different than you? Obviously, they're trying to say racist or something like that. And another comment was, well, my parents said I should vote for. But the best one that I heard from these idiot, dumb leftists, and of course, the other ones, because of her position, abortion is going to protect women's rights. I'm going to talk about that story again in a moment, but you know, this nonsense about, so this one said, well, our roommate is a political science major, and she says that Harris is a better candidate. So you're going to vote for Kamala Harris because your roommate is a political science major, and your roommate told you that she's a better choice. How stupid are these people? Why do they have the right to vote? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It shouldn't even be close. It shouldn't be close. This woman is a total fraud. She's accomplished nothing in her entire life. You're saying, wait, but Chris, but she was a district attorney, she was attorney general, she was a senator, she's a vice president, she's accomplished a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, getting elected to political office is not an accomplishment. It's a popularity contest. Being popular is not an accomplishment. Not unless that's your sole goal in life, like, you know, Paris Hilton or Kim Kardashian. Then you could say, yeah, you success. I made myself popular. Kim Kardashian by giving fellatio to a black dude in a video. And then Paris Hilton, she had a sex tape too, didn't she? That's how she became famous initially. And she became famous for being famous. That's also not an accomplishment. But Kamala Harris is not accomplished. Donald Trump has founded business after business of business, built this, managed golf courses, resorts all over the world. He has enriched people all over the world, hired hundreds of thousands of people, improved the lives of low-income, middle-income, high-income people all over the world, then served as president. You know, so anyway, successful television show, one of the most popular. I didn't like it, but it was popular. So, 26th big day for UK to unite. They're hosting massive gathering in London Central. Well, we'll see what happens because Keir Starmer's fascist government will probably simply start arresting people walking the street claiming that, you know, like this 61-year-old who just committed suicide in prison who was arrested for being at a rally. He didn't commit a crime. The judge said, I have no statutes to charge you with, but your presence there means you must be punished. He was sent to jail for 2 years and 8 months at 61 years of age. This is a sick and twisted fascist society. And the same thing is happening here to some people. We see the sentencing of people for misdemeanor offenses, walking into the Capitol building, being charged as felonies, overcharging them, and then being in prison. And those are political arrests. It's just a shame. Same thing happened in the UK. So you can have a big rally, but good luck with that. I mean, the fascist police from Keir Starmer's government will likely be out there, and they'll be arresting people. Yeah, I hope not. But remember, the 5th of November is coming up, Guy Fawkes Day. It's probably time to celebrate that. We're going to talk about that too. Agree it's false, something, electrolytes. Sister-in-law comes from Taiwan. Yep, I have a Chinese sister-in-law. I remember her talking about Formosa. Well, Erica, how could that possibly be? You're a white woman. Aren't you a racist? Meerkat says you look handsome in your suit. Well, Meerkat, I am known throughout Africa as a devastatingly handsome white man. I'm just saying. Banana Republic's International Coalition. There you go. I like that, Pablo Charlie. Yeah, the Chinese nationalists fled to Formosa after being chased by Mao and his communists. Correct. And Formosa, the Chinese communists under the Kuomintang and Chiang Kai-shek were our allies. We helped China during the war. Yep. Trump is ahead everywhere. It will be hard to convince people in that magic ballots came in again. Yeah, I agree with you, Light Rain. 100%. Trump is ahead everywhere. I've got him at about 323 electoral votes. Yep. And depending on California, what happens in California, maybe even a popular vote win. You know, it's possible. It's up to Californians to go out and vote. Don't duck. Let him. UK apparently had a bomb threat. I didn't hear that. Yeah, Trump will be on Joe Rogan Friday. That'll be huge. Another 5 killed, a Cape third force at play. I didn't see that. In the past, I would tab your intro and didn't hear the intro. Amazing how they are learning ways to silence censor audience. I don't know what that means. Tab your intro and didn't hear the intro. What does that mean, bystander? I don't understand it, but thank you for sharing that. You're right about language being easier when young, though. The additional aspect is that you need to have no alternative option. No, I don't agree with that, Keith. I don't think you have to have no alternative option. You have to have a strong motivation. So for a lot of Afrikaans-speaking kids, Boers and their families and Boermeisje who live out on the farms, or those who live in leafy suburban areas, they almost always or frequently have a housekeeper, a maid, or someone like that, or a child. They wind up being a child care provider. And of course, they speak in their first language usually to these kids, and the kids are babies, infants, toddlers, young kids, and so many of those folks I know all speak either Zulu, isiZulu, or isiXhosa, or they'll speak Tswana or Sesotho, something like that. So yeah, that's pretty common for those folks picking up a second language. A lot of other kids, black kids in particular, pick up a second language because English is spoken out there. It's all over the place in the marketplace, and they hear it. Plus, it's on TV. So yeah, now that's one way that a lot of people learn that second language. John Steenhuisen has just posted a Twitter thing saying the DA distances itself from the comments of President Ramaphosa about Russia being an ally. So yeah, he's doubling down. Steenhuisen has posted that on Twitter. I just received that update as I'm sitting here. 93 people here, 58 likes. Be sure to hit the like button, folks. Anyway, so beyond all that, you have to have a strong motivation. So a strong motivation could be you're immersed in it because you have to for survival. You wind up in a place where all you speak is the language. And I can give an example, not a perfect example, but an academic example. When I was a senior at university, at Ohio University back in 1989, this would have been, 89. I started in 88 and went into 89 because we start in the fall. I took Swahili as a foreign language. Now, I missed the first week because I was rearranging my schedule. I'd just come back from all these military events all summer long, different places I'd gone. I came back and ate up the whole summer. I had no summer. Anyway, so I came back and I had to rearrange my schedule. I wound up taking Swahili, and it was intensive Swahili. So I was 1 week late to the class. It's like a 14-week session or 12-week session. And so I came in the second week, and there was no English spoken in the class. From the moment you arrived, the instructor didn't speak a word of English. All I spoke was Swahili. And everybody in the class was already repeating these lines. Gina Lango ni Chris, Gina Lango ni Stephanie, Gina Lango ni John, Mimi Anaka Athens, Mimi Anaka Cleveland, Mimi Anaka. And I'm like, what? I had no idea what they're doing. It was total immersion, and I didn't like it at all. But within 2 weeks, I'd been caught up, and I understood what was going on. I went back and read the text that we had, the primers, the Longman primers from East Africa. And I caught up, and total immersion, just right into it, thrown into it. So that's one way. I could hear nothing but English, so I had no option but to figure it out. My brain had to wire it. Now, to be fair, I'd already spoken other foreign languages, so I was already accustomed to changing. But I was in my mid-20s when I did that. So it wasn't exactly, an easy thing like a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old. So there's lots of ways to learn language, but you have to have a motivation. I wanted motivation. I wanted to be able to be competitive, to be a foreign area officer for Africa, and I wanted to do that. So Swahili was a key element of that, in my view. Anyway, so another one is, you marry a foreign national. You marry someone from somewhere else, and they speak another language, and, you work it out. Louis Liebenberg jailed. Ooh, I didn't see that Louis Liebenberg is jailed. Was that in the news, Sedgefield? Wow. Okay. The ANC is eating all of its own. That's probably because he's a Zuma ally. What's the U.S. Congress process removing us from AGOA? It's very simple. The Secretary of State can do it if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I could check on it. But it's very easy to be removed from AGOA. You simply don't comply. And in theory, South Africa is not eligible for AGOA. One of the precepts of AGOA, you can go look it up, look up all the conditions that you're supposed to adhere to, the things you agree to do. One of the things that must be done is you must respect property rights. The mere introduction of expropriation without compensation into South African Parliament in 2018 by the ANC, which had happened before but was dismissed. But that one went forward. And it's never been dismissed. They're still working on it. That alone says that South Africa does not respect property rights. And if you don't respect property rights, you're not eligible for AGOA. You can't just take people's property. Otherwise, economies can't function. They can't grow. If you buy a piece of land and someone comes along and says, well, this was taken from so-and-so 3 centuries ago, so now it's being taken from you. All the investment, all the resource went into it, the debt still has to be paid for the land, it's no longer yours. That's just stupid. Yeah. Anyway, so they're not eligible for that. They're also not eligible because of a culmination of many activities. The South African refusal to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, South Africa's naval training exercises with Russia, an opponent of the United States who works against our national security interests, and South Africa's Lady R incident all augur poorly for South Africa remaining in AGOA. But unfortunately, we have a cowardly administration, and they won't punish South Africa. Now, I'm not calling for South Africa to be punished, and if I was the ambassador to South Africa, I would not argue that we should take them off of AGOA. Just telling you that now. What I would argue is that someone that knows what the hell they're talking about is sitting down talking to South Africa and telling them, listen, you need to stop doing this stuff or you will be taken off. And if they don't listen, then you can take them off. But I don't think those talks are happening. Birmingham Airport. Okay, well, I've never flown out of Birmingham, but I've been in Birmingham. You're being a rotisserie chicken. Who is? Oh, me. I'm spinning around. Yeah, the sun seems to love me. It's unfortunate, but I'm pink and I burn really badly. So we don't need that. We don't need that. Somebody here with their family. Okay, little kids in tow. NATO, as it sits now, is much more anti-white than BRICS. I don't know if that's an accurate statement. I'm drinking raspberry iced tea, by the way. Don't. What's this? Somebody deleted their message. I can't see it. All right, because I'm not in my studio. It's Face. That's who that was, not Facility. Don't worry, we'll let that pass. Our rotation around the sun is almost immaterial in the movement of shadows. The Earth's spin, however. Well, yeah, 18,000 miles per hour, 26,000 kilometers per hour. Man, we're on a roller coaster ride here. If you don't realize that, we are moving at a huge, fast pace. Teddy was an amazing figure, but the birth of yellow journalism with the member of Maine was the first of many excuses that take us to war. Yeah, it was. No, I talked about. Thank you. Who's that? Who's that? That's probably. No, it's light rain. Yeah, no, I talk about yellow journalism all the time. When Trump started yelling fake news, I said yellow journalism. We've been down this road before. We had William Randolph Hearst and his irresponsible publications running articles claiming that the Maine was sunk by the Cuban or by the Spanish. It wasn't. It was either a boiler explosion or it was intentionally sunk by Americans, and it cost us sailors. And it was the Cassius Belli, the justification for going to war. And that's just horrible. 102 people here. Hit the like button, folks. Appreciate it. Cesspool of information in the form of legitimate news outlets. Best of two worst cases. Pluck 6 peacocks today for their tall feathers. You shake them, the feathers release. That's interesting, Sedgefield. Cackles Harris slept her way to the top. She even has... That may be true. While Harris might be better, it's likely she has more contacts with the deep state. Yeah, she's just going to be a puppet for the deep state. She was a placeholder, yep. If Trump promises to not go to war with Iran, I'll support him. Well, I don't know that we can. That's going to be clear. Jonathan, Biden might go to war with Iran before he leaves office. You know, things are getting pretty bad with Iran. Should be the first Indian-Irish president. Yeah, there you go. And she ain't black, says Charles. All right. What time is it now? I'm getting a warning about my Zoom session. I got 15 minutes. We're good. Okay. Come on. A lot of messages here. I got to get through. There we go. All right. Wankers being wankers. When Trump was in office, Iran didn't play with him. Yeah, no. We didn't have any problems with Iran. Erica's being called. Colonel Devastating sounds like an awesome African warlord name. Colonel Devastating. Where'd you get that from? Following a search by the explosive ordnance team, the vehicle was deemed to be safe. So there was no bomb. Okay, cool. Ever heard the DA say anything about Christianity? No, I've never heard the DA say anything. That's why we have ACDP and the Freedom Front Plus. The Democratic Alliance seems to have no interest in protecting Christians or anything whatsoever. Alter Bridge is here. Now it could have changed. Chris is a crip. What? What? Sorry, I'm late. Charmaine's Wi-Fi is up. Which countries have AGOA? I think the number has changed. I think somewhere around 37 African countries are in AGOA right now. And quite frankly, only about 6 actually qualify for it. Look, AGOA is a gift. It's a gift from Congress and the American people to African countries if they make a promise to abide by certain governance. That's it. That's it. We've done this nice thing for African countries. There's no reciprocity. There's no demand that they lower tariffs against us. There's no demand that they do anything political that we ask them to do. We just ask they don't act against our interests, and they meet certain thresholds for, spending money on education, on infrastructure, and things like that. Most of them don't qualify. We just give them the access because we can. The argument's always made, well, they do it so that they can get the minerals from Africa. We get the minerals from Africa anyway. Look, I mean, what do you think? The tariffs on there are high? They're not. So anyway, it is beneficial for African countries, but there's only a couple countries that really get a lot of benefit from it. Ghana, Morocco, South Africa, Egypt, these are countries that have the best opportunity to profit from this. And then, of course, the oil producers, Nigeria, Angola. But we don't get oil from Angola, so not really an impact there. Still no evidence about Lady R. Yeah, what's your point, Jonathan? What's your point? It's also the report from the government of South Africa was bullshit. See some gray and you goes to go. What's this, Charles? Ambassador to Saudi was very helpful. We need an ambassador like that. Who's MPS? Don't know who that is. No, it's a iced tea. It's a raspberry iced tea. It's a large. Only size cup they have. They charge $3 for it. Hey, Mike, how's it going? That was Dan. A lot of U.S. corporates withdrew from South Africa. It seems if our so-called leaders need the proverbial bread buttered on all sides. Yep, that's true. John Moslin, how's it going there, buddy? How you doing there? Please use this phrase when dealing with the woke. Bait speech is the traps they use. The definition they've changed. The load language is bait speech. Control you, don't take the bait. Yeah, the problem with not taking the bait, I agree with you, but the problem is when people alter images or people impersonate you or misrepresent you, that stuff gets shared around social media, so you have to at least address it at least one time. Otherwise, people think it's real. Cyril's big mouth about Russia has already negatively affected the exchange rate. These Northern Hemisphere wars. Yeah, exactly. Peter Koenig, you're spot on. South Africa should stay out of this. They never got involved in Russia and Ukraine. If South Africa wanted to abstain from censoring or Russia the first time out, okay, that's fine. That's their prerogative. But they keep sticking their nose into Russia, doing military exercise with them. There is no military organization of BRICS, so why are they doing naval exercise with Russia and China? What is that all about? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing naval exercise with Nigeria? Them got much of a navy. 26 degrees, looks like rain has passed. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, got you. Saud, that's who it was. George. Okay, all right, I gotta move again. I am a rotisserie chicken, huh? Good Lord. Okay, let's come around here now. Go back to the other side and see if that works now. The sun has moved. Hey, that's much better now. I'm over here. Woo, 91. We were over 100. Now people left. Why are you all leaving? What are you expecting here? A barbecue? Mike says, all good with me, but lots of neighbors have the flu. Okay. I support Russia because it's one of the few European countries who don't hate Christianity of their own. Yeah, no, the problem with that, Radine, is Russia and the Soviet Union persecuted, murdered, and destroyed Christianity in Russia. The Orthodox Church, thousands of Orthodox churches, some hundreds of years old, were destroyed by the Soviets over decades. And the Russians are no different, the oligarchs. They don't really care about religion. They just kind of ignore it right now. So I don't trust it. Just remove us from AGOA, for goodness sake. Yeah. So anyway, no, I don't trust the Russians for a moment. It's a fascist, totalitarian, authoritarian state. We see that political opponents are arrested and put in prison, and they die and murdered in prison. Yeah, exactly, Charles. Used to be very anti-Christian. Chris, rotisserie chicken. No, because I'm sitting on a round thing and I keep moving around to avoid the sun because it was burning my face and I couldn't see the screen. So that's, I think Debbie early said I'm a rotisserie chicken, so I feel like a rotisserie chicken spinning around here. Anyway, fair point. So here in the U.S., we're coming up not too similar from Ukraine then. Yeah. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. They also destroyed Orthodox churches there. Still important in Scandinavian countries. Not really, Pablo. Is that a question? It's not. No. I've been to Scandinavia. There's a lot of heathens up there. Christianity is not that important. So when I went to Europe, because I lived in Germany in '84, first time I went to Europe, I always thought that that Europe was big in Christianity because they have all these churches, and I didn't make the link. And then I lived in Europe, and I would go to these churches, and on Sunday they'd be empty. A couple old ladies in there. That's about it. Nobody there. And I realized what was going on. These churches were built hundreds of years ago, when there were Christians in Germany and Switzerland and Finland and the Netherlands. That's one of the most heathenistic countries out there, the Netherlands, and the UK. But they just archaeological artifacts for the most part these days. Very few people attend these churches. Now, Christianity is strong amongst some people. You want to know if Christianity is strong? Eastern Europe. Those people who were oppressed by the Soviets and the Warsaw Pact, those people were very strong Christian because they fought against it. So Christianity is strong in Russia because of its opposition to the state and it had to go underground. Poland's Catholicism is incredibly strong. Wrong. Europe still has lots of centric Christian. That's in the name, Pablo, Charlie. None of them do anything for Christians. The Christian Socialist Union of Bavaria, of Bayern, the Christian the Christian Democratic Union of Germany, they're not Christian. That's just a name. It's a name. And a political party doesn't make a country Christian. They're just co-opting it. Crispy. Isn't Russia doing this? Enemy of my innocent friend, yeah. The result of the election will obviously impact the value of the dollar with banks becoming cardless. It's not a scare when banks cannot keep up with updates, changes. Yeah, crypto comes out. Russia is not the Soviet Union, and they have a thriving church building industry because the Soviets destroyed so many. In fact, Orthodoxy patriarch called Putin a gift from God. Yeah, but I'm not disputing that, Radine. What I'm saying is I don't trust them. I don't trust them. Trust them for a second. And the faith survived because they opposed the Soviet state. Look in the Netherlands. I've been to the Netherlands. Have you been to a church in the Netherlands? Look, because a couple people go to church doesn't make a country Christian. You know, look at the people who adhere to a faith. Check those statistics. It's not high. Yes, Western Europe has become largely atheist. That's correct, Mike. Largely atheist. I don't know. It's not a majority in every country, but it is certainly amongst the elites, it is the majority. Amongst the politicians, it is the majority. Most politicians that profess to be Christians or whatever are not really Christians. You probably find more Muslims who are honest about their faith in the British Parliament and in France and elsewhere. No, look, the Europeans are become heathens. Many of them. They've lost their faith long ago, decades ago. Yeah, so I mean, I've lived there half my life. I didn't say the Netherlands is heathen. I said lots of heathens there. Yeah, if I said the Netherlands is heathen, then I misspoke, and I'll stand corrected. Yeah, I've been there. See, people don't believe in faith. Their moral conduct, many of the people, is just off the charts. And morality has a role in faith. The Netherlands were very religious before. That's mostly gone now as those generations have passed on. That's right, pork leaker. That's exactly right. Southern Europe is still Christian, even Nordic and the Baltic states. Pablo Charlie keeps disagreeing with me. Yeah, you would think that. You would think that Italy would be very religious. Nope. Churches are empty there on the weekends too. Most of them. Yep. Now, empty churches may not be a sign of people's faith, because I don't go to churches and I have a faith. So I don't attend church regularly. I have faith, and that may be the case. But I've lived in those countries. I've dealt with those people. And I know that they aren't not particularly religious. Spain, maybe. I don't know. I've never been to Spain. I've just landed at the airport, so I can't say. I can look at the stats. Yes, South Africans are much more active as Christians, and Africans in general. The greatest growth in the Christian faith is in Africa. It's the world's largest religion, and its fastest and most significant growth is in Africa, and it's been that way for 30 years. Christianity continues to grow, and that's why we have these schisms and we have these conflicts in places like Nigeria, where Christians are being murdered by the tens of thousands by Muslims in just complete, annihilation of villages and murdering people. It's horrible. Denmark has a large Christian community. I've also been to Denmark many, many times, Pablo. You could say large, but you haven't quantified it. Italy is still religious, though, not as much. Exactly, Radine, not nearly as much. It's dropped off. Churches are for, what's this? People who like to be seen giving. Yeah, generations groomed and blue screen against the. Exactly right, Mike. I know a Greek guy who made a living painting beautiful icons and saints on barns. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it has dropped off massively. And I mean, it's, if you go back to Europe in 1870 and faith was overwhelming. It was everywhere. It's a huge part of existence. Let me check on the time. I got 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to have to wrap up. Iceland and Greenland has a large Christian community. Yeah, there are Christians in Iceland. I've also been to Iceland. I've never been to Greenland. But yeah, when you say large, I mean, America is a country where over 80% of people are practicing people of faith. 80%. Despite all the leftist lunatics out here in the country, it's still 80%, or at least that much. 22% of Americans are practicing Catholics. The majority of Americans by faith are Protestants, and chief among them are Baptist and Methodist. But we have so many different denominations and faiths. Muslims make a very small, tiny minority. Jews make up a tiny minority of our faith. And then you've got the almost statistical, irrelevant things like Wiccans and Buddhists. All right, folks, I got to drop off. It's time for me to go join Ronaldo. Please be sure to hit the like button. Thanks for being here. God bless. Yeah, South America is very Christian. Now you're hitting a pot, Charlie. Yep, South America is very Christian. Remains very, very Christian. Church is critically important throughout Central America and South America and the Caribbean Basin. 100%, no disagreement from me whatsoever on that. I will dispute your claims that European countries are largely Christian, because they just aren't, my brother. Anyway, thanks. Hit the like button. I'll catch you guys on Ronaldo in a few minutes. Thanks for being here. Cheers. If you want to leave a comment behind, feel free to do it. God bless.